When the entity possessed Hesperus, it felt like a bomb going off inside his body, but in reverse. There was an implosion of sorts that sucked the Nightmare King's consciousness deep into his being and compressed it into a tiny, dense sphere of awareness. And that was despite the fact that Hesperus had done it on purpose. He'd known the entity was about to consume some unsuspecting individual, and he'd acted on that knowledge. Nightmares possessed the ability to pull a soul into themselves. They had this ability for good reason. It wasn't a kind of magic, but an inherent ability, like walking was for a human and flying for a bird. Without thinking nearly long enough about it, Hesperus had done exactly that. Suddenly his arms, his hands, his legs, and the rest of his mind were out of his reach, out of his control. The terrifying sensation of not being able to decide to even take a breath for himself was all he suddenly knew. It also hurt. The entity's presence was like cold fire, the sudden agony of skinny dipping in liquid nitrogen. And he couldn't even gasp. Hesperus had never experienced anything so horrible in his long, long life. It was worse than death. Not many things are. It didn't have to hurt. Hesperus could sense that, read it off the entity's soul, but the entity was furious with him and making him suffer for his act. It probably didn't help that Hesperus had been so weakened by the battle with the hunters. His body and his power were already so drained. He was already so tired. The fight had been horribly strenuous. 80+ hunters in one location, he and his men a dozen in number at most. The plan had been to take as many out as possible and keep them from transporting to their leader's location, so the shifter king and his queen could rescue one of their own. He hadn't expected such large numbers, for one. But he also hadn't expected that there would be more warlocks amongst them.